Hello and welcome to this episode of Excel Bonanza, your bonanza for Excel knowledge. This is Abdurrahman Abdu, and in this episode we're going to discuss 3 ways to do MINIF and MAXIF in Excel. So we're going to discuss 3 ways to get the minimum and the maximum of some values based on some criteria. There's actually a very simple way that is only available for Office 365 subscribers and have an Excel 2016, which is using 2 functions, which are the MINIFs and the MAXIFs functions, but this is not available to everybody. So I'm actually going to discuss some workarounds for doing that instead of using these functions until they are available for everybody. And also you can download this example workbook here using the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so in this video we're going to see how to do MINIF and MAXIF in Excel. So we're going to see 3 ways to do MINIF and MAXIF. So starting with the MINIF, let's say we've got a table here having the product name, the date, and the profit amount. And let's say we want to get the minimum profit amount for each product, for example. So we could create a pivot table based on that particular table. We could put a product name in the rows section and put the profit amount in the sigma value section or the summation of values section, and we could change the value field settings for the summation of values here to be minimum so as to get the minimum. So here we get the minimum profit amount for product A in this table, we get the minimum profit amount for product B in this table, and so on and so forth. Let's say you want to add some date criteria as well, so you could move the product name to the column section, for example, put the date in the rows. You will have the minimum profit amount for each product per month, and actually Excel here will just group the dates by month. If you want to ungroup the dates, you could ungroup it, right click and ungroup so you get the exact dates. You could do filters as well on the dates, so you could do all kinds of filters and stuff using the pivot tables. Okay, so that is one way of doing it. The second way to do it, we could do an array format actually, and we will see how to do an AND criteria and an OR criteria as well. So let's start with the AND criteria. So let's see first of all how we can build that array formula. So first of all, let's say I want to get the minimum profit amount for product B in this table. So we're going to have only one criterion and we're going to get the minimum profit amount for product B. So on this array formula, we're going to do a comparison operation. So we're going to put an if function here. So if this array here, anything in this array is equal to product B, then give me the array for the profit amount, and we're gonna choose only the values that match this logical test, because this logical test is gonna give us a group of trues and falses. As you can see here, if we highlight it and press F9, we're just gonna get an array of trues and falses, and then we're just gonna close the bracket so that if our logical test does not yield a true, it will just yield a false by default by the if function. And then we could actually nest this if function inside a min function here, so that it would be like a min if. And then we need to actually do that as an array formula, so we need to press Control, Shift, and Enter. When we enter that, and as you can see here, we get the minimum profit amount for product B is actually 146. If we actually just rearrange our pivot table again as it was for only the products, you can see here that product B is 146. That's the minimum profit amount for product B. Now let's say we want to add some more criteria. As we've discussed before on a previous video, in order to do an AND in an array format, you need to actually nest if functions. So it had the same formula here, but we need to nest ifs inside it. So we need to add the criteria by nesting ifs. So you need to put a comma, and then in the value, if true, you would nest another if inside there. And let's say you want to do it for date greater than or equal to 1st of January 2016 and less than or equal to the 31st of March 2016. So that's in the first quarter. And we need to make sure to close the other 2 ifs here, add 2 brackets, and Control Shift Enter will give us the correct result. So this is actually going to be the minimum value for product B in the first quarter as well. So if we actually reconstruct our pivot table here again and do dates on the rows here, do product names here. So as you can see here, in the first quarter, which includes January, February, and March, the minimum amount for product B is 346. So now we've done an AND criteria. You could also do an OR criteria. So the minimum profit amount, for example, for product A or product B. Alright guys, so now we're going to do an OR criteria. So to do an OR criteria is very easy because it's like the first one. However, we just need to repeat the formula inside the minimum. So it'd have two minimums. So here, for example, we're going to write the same formula for just one criterion here for one product, but we're just going to move that to match against product A, for example. And let's say we want the minimum of either product A or product B. So we will just repeat the if function again. So comma and then if, and then we put the same logical test here. This array is equal to product B, and then the value if true is the profit amount. So we're doing the same thing. We're just having two tests nested inside the min function, and then the min function will just get the minimum value of everything. So we'll close that second if function as well. And then we're just going to press Control-Shift-Enter, and we get the minimum of either product A or product B. So if we filter this table here, product A and product B only, we see that the minimum value is 109. This is the smallest value which we have produced here. Alright guys, so now we're going to see how to do that using the DMIN function as well. So the DMIN function actually takes three arguments. So if we write equals DMIN, and the first argument is basically the database, and the database is actually everything on your data, all the columns on your data, including the headers. So it is very, very important to include the headers, okay? And then the second argument, or the second input, is the field. And the field is basically the field you want to extract the data from. You can either write it or refer to a cell that contains its name. And the field that we need to extract the data from is actually the profit amount. So I'd write profit amount there. And then the third input is basically the criteria. And the criteria are basically the fields that you need to base your AND criteria on. And in case of the AND criteria, for example, we're here doing an AND. In case of the AND, you need to repeat the field that you have the AND in. And you need to write that including the comparison operators. So in our case here, we want, for example, product B and the date being greater than or equal to the 1st of January 2016 and the date less than or equal to the 31st of March 2016. So that's in Q1 for product B, for example. So you need to lay them in this way. You need to have your criteria across columns, okay? And you need to make sure to include the column titles as well in your criteria, okay? So it's very important to include the column titles or the column headers as well in your criteria. So if we do it like that and press enter, this is not an array formula. We get the same result for product B and Q1, as you can see here. If you just need product B, then you can just include just product B on the last input, and that's it, and you will get product B as well. So this is how you can do an AND. The downside to the DMIN function is that it cannot be dragged downwards or to the right. It cannot be dragged across cells. So it only can be put in a single cell. So if you need to do that for multiple cells, you need to write the function multiple times. Now, if you need to do an OR, you need to have your criteria arranged across rows instead of across columns. So here, if we do the DMIN function as well, equals DMIN, the database is basically all the columns containing our data. The field is where we want to extract or do our min on, so profit amount. And the criteria here is going to be the product name, product A or product B, and you can see here that they are written across the rows instead of across the columns. And then we close our brackets, press enter, and we get 109, which is the same number we got here for product A or product B using the array formula. Now, if you need to do a max function, it's actually the same thing. You just need to replace the min with the max. You would replace the min function with the max function. So instead of min, you put max here on the array formulas, and here instead of DMIN, you do DMAX, and on the pivot tables as well, you do, on the value field settings, you do max instead of min. So it's the same thing basically. If you like the video, press the like button and share it with your friends. And feel free to visit my blog at excelbonanza.com, and also check out the resources in the description below, and check out my other videos as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.